Welcome to another installment of Iowa Sports with Bryce Miller. Today, sitting down with us for a little bit is Kris Bryant of the Iowa Cubs. Kris, for baseball fans, doesn't need much, if any, introduction, but first-round draft pick of the Chicago Cubs. This season, I guess if you compile all your AAA stats, 40 home runs, 103 RBIs, hitting .333. I don't know if I get points for not looking down and knowing all that off the top of my head, but hope it's not creepy.
I'll give you points.
All right, thanks. And we just want to talk a little bit about your time in Des Moines and baseball and where everything's headed. So thanks for sitting down with us.
Yeah,
we
no
appreciate
problem.
it.
Thanks for having me.
What's some of those numbers I rattled off? Some of that leads the average fans who sit in the stands to try to understand what somebody with your ability to hit, what a home run swing feels like. What's it feel like when you perfectly drive a ball?
It almost feels like nothing. I mean, you get one good on the fat part of the bat, and it doesn't really feel like anything when you hit the ball. But I've been doing it for quite a while, but it's still, every time I hit a home run, it's, I get that same feeling of hitting the first one that I hit when I was 8 years old. And, I don't think it'll ever get old, so I definitely enjoy it.
Has there been much of an adjustment from AA to AAA, and if so, what's that been like?
At first I think there was just, I don't know if it was necessarily on the field, it's kind of in my head, just mentally, like, I'm in AAA now. Everybody's better than AA pitchers, and but now being here for I think 2 months, I haven't noticed a crazy amount of difference. I think the pitchers up here, they command their pitches a little better. They can kind of throw them for strikes more often than the pitchers in AA. But there's talent all around in the minor leagues, and I definitely noticed it over both levels.
I know this probably isn't your favorite topic, but it gets talked about a lot. When you might end up in Chicago, and I know it doesn't sound like listening to Theo Epstein that would be this year, but what in your mind is a perfect scenario for your development and your timeline, if there is such a thing? What do you think about when you hear all the discussion?
I get asked it a lot, but I don't really put too much thought into it, just because I've always said that, I try to stay away from the distractions on the field and off the field, and that's definitely a distraction to me, because if I'm thinking about that, then I'm not really, focused on getting better every day. So, whenever that time comes, I'll be ready. But, I've said before that my job is to make it hard on them, and, that was my goal this year, is to come out and, put up some numbers and make it hard on them, and I hope I've done that.
I think you've made it a little bit tough on them, based on the numbers. But so you would be ready anytime, but are you okay with the wait or next season? I know a lot of it gets complicated in terms of when your arbitration clock starts and all the business of baseball.
Right.
But what do those timelines mean, either direction, I guess?
Yeah, there definitely is a business of baseball that I didn't really think about when I was being drafted. But I trust the plan that the front office has for me, and they've had a great track record of developing talent, and I'll be ready whenever they're ready. But I've had a blast so far in my time in Tennessee and now in Des Moines, and I've just trying to stay in the moment and enjoying every moment that I have.
What about, there's a lot of concern. Is it a foot injury, toe injury? What do we call it officially?
I guess it's a
foot
contusion or something.
Contusion?
I didn't major in any science field, so I'm a finance major, but the foot feels fine. Kind of just a nagging injury that you get playing baseball, and just being a little precautious with it. So I feel good.
Well, I know Marty Peavy said a little earlier you ran a little bit and you might even be available in the next day or so. Is that a sign that things are going well with that?
Oh yeah, I think I'll be in the lineup tomorrow, or I sure hope so. But I don't make the decisions, but I'm ready. We're 2 games back, and I want to make the playoffs with the Iowa Cubs. I was in a playoff run last year in High A, and we actually won the whole thing, and that's definitely an experience that I'll remember forever, and I'd like to relive that.
So the last thing on the foot, you don't see that as a lingering thing necessarily?
Oh no.
Okay.
In baseball we hit foul balls off our foots a lot, but in the game you don't really notice it because you got the adrenaline pumping and you're really focused on the at bat. But I guess just tweaked it here a couple days ago, and like I said, just the injuries of baseball that you don't really see on TV or really hear about. Just kind of one of those small little nagging things.
The other night, correct me if I have this wrong, but I think you had a walk-off home run on Kris Bryant jersey night. Is that good timing? How did you map that one up?
Yeah, that was a pretty cool night. Signing the shirts before the game for all the fans, and my first, I think it was like a 13-inning game. My first 5 at bats weren't very good, but I came through when it counted, and I was glad to get that win because they went up. I think it was 5-4 in the 12th inning, and we thought we were kind of done there, but it was good to kind of get that hit and kind of spark us a little bit.
You were in Double-A Tennessee, and they had a bobblehead night for you after you came to Iowa. Have you seen these? Do you know what they look like?
Yeah, I've seen them.
What do you think?
I think they're spot on.
You sure?
It's kind of hard.
I looked at it.
It's kind of hard to make your stance in a bobblehead form, but I think they got the face right a little bit, and it's kind of cool to have your own bobblehead though. And I'm only a minor leaguer, so it's definitely pretty cool to have one of those.
You're part of what now has been tabbed by the media and other groups as the core four for the Chicago Cubs, and you've had the opportunity to play with a lot of these guys, Javier Baez, Jorge Soler, and I know they're still waiting for Almora. They expect him to make his move. What do you, if you just were telling people about those other guys, what's your, as a baseball player who understands the game, what's your sense of those guys individually?
Oh, they're some of the best players that I've played with over my career, and they all bring something different to the table in terms of on the field stuff. Like Albert, one of the best center fielders I've ever seen. He gets some of the best reads on fly balls, and he's just an all-around player. He can do a little bit of everything, and obviously hear about Javi and his power, and he just crushed one today against the Mets. It's pretty cool to see him, develop into the player that he's going to be. And I had a blast playing with him here and hitting behind him and watching him hit some home runs. But I think a lot of what Javi has is, they focus on the power, but I think he's a great defensive player. Playing third base with him at shortstop, I've seen some plays that I haven't seen shortstops make, so that was pretty fun. And obviously Jorge Soler, I played with him in the fall league, and he's got the body of a baseball player, and he's pretty scary. I wouldn't want to play third base off him.
Speaking of positions, and you are playing third base, there's been some discussion that if and when you end up in Chicago, you could be an outfielder, you could be used in different ways. What positions do you feel like you could play, just in general, with your experience and body type and skills?
I've obviously third base. I've played some first base, but I've played all the outfield positions in college and growing up. So I think that's important when you're a young guy playing baseball, is that you want to be you want to play as many positions as you can, so because you never know where you're going to play at the next level. And I've been working real hard at third base, but if the front office wanted me to play somewhere else, I would give it all I had. And but right now the focus seems to be playing third base.
One of the unique dynamics of the time that you're in Des Moines, that you're with the Iowa Cubs, is Manny Ramirez is here. What kind of an influence has he been in the clubhouse? What kind of things have you learned from a guy who's been a World Series MVP, among other things?
Yeah, it's real cool to see him go about his business and what he does every day. And he brings smiles to the clubhouse. He's just a fun guy to be around. Always joking around, which is cool. But at the same time, he's one of the hardest workers that I've ever seen. He's always in the cage. He's not in the lineup every day, but he's always in there working as hard as he can, trying to get better. And I don't know if you can get better than being, having a Hall of Fame career, but he's out there every day working as hard as he can, and that's refreshing for me to see. And I've had a great time with him.
We're going to wrap this up with Kris Bryant with something I just mostly made up called the speed round. I'll ask you quick questions and answers. What's the most likely thing to be playing in your car stereo?
Any country station.
A favorite artist, band?
I don't have a favorite. I turn on the Sirius XM, put on the highway, and I just listen to it. I just love country music. It's something that I just grown to love.
TV show or movie you're DVRing? What are you watching?
Show. I like the Discovery Channel. Anything on A&E, Storage Wars, all that stuff. I try to stay away from sports just because I'm always on the baseball field. So yeah, I try to stay away from that.
If you have an addiction to Real Housewives, this is your chance to admit it. Is this something you want to come clean on right now? Or
no, I'll pass on that.
Limited on Storage Wars?
Limited on Storage Wars and all those other shows.
Who was your favorite player growing up?
It's funny. I never really had a favorite player, but Manny Ramirez was definitely one that I watched, and now he's my teammate, which is pretty cool.
That is strange.
Yeah. My team growing up was the Red Sox just because my dad had been drafted by them and grew up in the Boston area, so I guess I was kind of forced into rooting for the Red Sox. And I grew to watch Manny and how he went about hitting, and something that I've always wanted to be like. And now I get to pick his brain here, which is pretty cool.
You're used to warm weather environments. You grew up in Las Vegas. You were in San Diego in college. What's it like in Iowa, and what do you do? What does Kris Bryant do? Do you go to a restaurant? Do you walk downtown? What are you doing when you're not around the diamond?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm pretty much at the field all the time, which is, my job. But, I try to relax at home, not really do too much, just try to, take it easy. I watch some TV shows on Netflix and all that. But, I like to play some golf here and there too. Try to save that for the off season a little bit more.
You a good golfer?
I'm all right. I hit it pretty far, but it doesn't go straight.
I could see you hitting it far. That would make some sense.
Yep, I hit it pretty good.
Well, we appreciate the time with Kris Bryant. Thank you for spending a little bit of it with us. I think we broke a little news. I think there's a chance he does watch Real Housewives. We haven't completely ruled that out entirely. He's a little evasive on that question. But clearly one of the best players in minor league baseball. And Kris, thank you for the time.
No problem. Thank you.
And thanks for watching.